So, hey everyone, welcome back to the special series of College Dunia where we take interviews of all those students who have converted India's top B schools. And with top B schools, I mean I am Ahmedabad and from our future I am Ahmedabad, possibly a future I am Ahmedabad student. Why am I saying possibly? Because there are certain good amount of reasons for that as well. But from I am Ahmedabad for now. We have Sarah on the show. She just converted I am Ahmedabad in 2023 and she scored 99.95 percentile in a CAT exam in the CAT 2022. Sarah, I scored 97. I've been bragging, I've been, ranting about my score again and again in several interviews because I am just jealous because I was not able to score it. But I hadn't, have much information about these things, but we don't want students to miss out on something. So this is our main agenda. And for that, we welcome
Right.
you on the series, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Sarah, before we move on, I want to admit to all the students that yes, I do look bad because whenever you enter an MBA, there are certain things that you need to maintain, and shaving is one thing. So I agree to that I'm looking bad, but it's okay, Sarah.
No, that's not true at all. I mean, in this setting, like it's completely informal. So I think like even I did not wear my coat and everything that
Right.
I'm supposed to wear in placements and everything. So I think that's perfectly fine.
Right. So because there's this thing that whenever a student enters, whenever specifically a male student enters and any
Right.
right, they're very adamant that okay they won't shave their beard and for the stuff because the students don't understand
Right.
that these things also matter in a way. But
Right.
I have been saying these things again and again that your placement, your future depends more, and the beard is not relevant in front of that. So
Correct. Correct.
right.
Yeah.
So Sarah,
Absolutely.
let's talk about the CAT first of all because students, I said that thing that Sarah have been considering other aspects as well apart from IIM Ahmedabad. We'll come on that later because there's something very interesting that I want to talk about. But Sarah, before we move on to that aspect, let's finally talk.
Right.
Before while you were preparing for the CAT exam, what was your profile like?
Okay, so when I was preparing for CAT, my profile was that I had a legal background. I studied the BLLB honors from the National Law Institute University, Bhopal. And after that, I went on to work in the technology law practice of a law firm called Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. And before that, I had PCM in 11th and 12th. And I did well in my CADs in 10th, 12th, and college as well. And I think that's pretty much my profile. I had a few extracurriculars, but for Ahmedabad, it doesn't count unless it is at the state or the national level.
Right.
So I could not really make use of those. But aside from that, I think I had a strong profile when I entered, and my CAT score was also helpful to let me get to the slot.
But I
Yeah.
want to know that still you have been in the law background in your law graduation, right? There were certain
Right.
aspects that you missed, right?
Hmm.
So let's talk about the quant section only. How tough was it to get back to learning maths and doing all the calculation stuff?
Um, Yeah, I think it was a little bit tough because some things I completely like had blocked out of my memory because I had decided to do law, so that was a completely different field for me. But I think when I got back to revising certain formulas, I realized that this is still in my brain. It's just not been used for a very long time. So I think it took a little bit more time than for say an engineer it would take. But for me, I mean, even though I had to take that amount of time, I feel like practice really helped me bring myself back into that zone of understanding maths and applying it in my day-to-day life. So
Right.
I think it was just a matter of reconnecting with the formulas and reconnecting with the syllabus. Most things are very intuitive also when it comes to CAT. Like they don't ask you very difficult questions, but they take very easy topics and take them to the highest possible level. So to sort of understand the topic from the basics really helps in developing that kind of understanding that will be required to solve the CAT questions. So I think that was not very difficult, but I would also say that it's not the easiest thing for someone who is from a law background.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, when certain student mentions that practice, 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 so how much practice can
Yeah.
we quantify? Can we really quantify the amount of practice a certain student should do? Let's say I'm a law student, right? I target let's say 2023 SCAT exam, right? So how much practice should I do for the quant section? How many questions should I do per day for the quant section? And how should I divide my algebra, arithmetic, and other subjects of the quant section so that I can be very much confident with those and can have a mastery on all those subjects?
Okay. So I would say that it depends on how familiar and how comfortable you are with those topics. So if you're not that comfortable, then start from the very basics. Solve questions related to the basics. Maybe solve 10 questions related to the basics for one topic, then solve 10 more for an intermediate level, and then solve very difficult 10 more questions. So that would be for one particular topic, and don't give too much importance to one topic because there's a lot to cover. So there are certain like YouTube channels that I use for my preparation. I use this channel called Rodha Prep. So they start from a very basic level for every topic, be it arithmetic, be it algebra, and so on. And they take you to a very difficult level, and they give you like 3 questions for each. And then once you do that, you can buy the test material of pretty much any coaching. I didn't really use that because I didn't have a lot of time, to be very honest. But I basically familiarize myself with the concept to the extent that when I solve it in a mock exam, I'm able to not hesitate, and I'm able to recollect that concept really fast. So the number of questions a person has to solve for each topic differs from one person to another. For me, I am the kind of person who grasps things really fast. So I didn't solve a lot of questions in practice. I did more mocks. I did maybe like 5 mocks. I didn't have much time to prepare. We'll probably come to that in the future as to why, because you said you want to talk about it later. But I only had like 1.5 months to practice all of this from the very beginning, and therefore I didn't do that much of like question preparation. I did more of like mocks, and I did more of concept building. So that was my strategy. But if anyone is like a person is someone who learns more by solving questions, then they should do as many questions as they can. There is ample material available in the market, segregated on the basis of algebra and arithmetic and so on. So I think it's to each their own, to be very honest.
Right. So, Sarah, what was your toughest topic for the quant section?
The toughest topic was, I think, number system, because I'd never approached it from that perspective before, numbers from that perspective before, and to sort of understand how it works that way was quite difficult. I knew that it was difficult, so I didn't spend much time on it also, because I thought that let's focus on my strengths rather than focusing on my weaknesses. But I knew that some basic understanding I had to have to maybe solve like maybe 1 or 2 questions, because it's asked a lot in CAT. So I think that would have been like the hardest for me, at least. Yeah.
Right. So, what was your strategy for the number systems in the final CAT exam on the D day?
So I actually have blocked out a lot of the CAT exam day, like what I did that day. But I think there were quite a few questions from number system asked in this CAT also, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I might have solved maybe 2 or 3. I didn't do that well in quant. I got like 98 point something in the quant section. My percentile was that much. So I think I mostly focused on the things that I was better at, like algebra I'm good at, and probability and so on. So I focused on those things rather than I looked at a question. If I thought that okay, I know how to solve this, or I can figure out how to solve this, then I attempted it. Otherwise, I thought that I have so many questions, so little time. So let's just try to do what I can instead of being worried about what I can't do.
Right. Sarah, so why didn't you choose to totally skip the number system? Because there are certain topics that you can't really cover, and you can't get mastery of those topics. And in those scenarios, what a student should do, that he should just leave that topic and focus more on other topics of the quant section, right? So why didn't you just leave the number system as such in the CAT exam?
Actually, the thing is that questions of every level are asked with respect to some topics. Like easy questions are also asked, medium are also asked. And so the difficult ones I knew I probably wouldn't be able to handle. So I at least tried to cover the easy portions of that topic so that I could be able to solve at least the most basic questions that they're asked related to a particular topic. So I think I've never been the kind of person who can skip things. Even in my college, like I always finished the syllabus and then went for the exam. So I think as that kind of student, I've never been the kind of person who can skip anything, even though it might be a better decision to do that. I try to at least cover the basics of almost everything, even if it was difficult, so that maybe I could solve like 1 question out of 5 from that topic.
Right.
So that was my strategy.
So Swara, how many questions did you attempt for the CAT exam in the quant section?
I think I attempted 13 questions and I got like 10 right, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't do that well, but I also didn't do horribly because I think the quant was difficult in my slot, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah. So I have 2 questions, right, Sarah? So that you did 10 questions. This means 10, 3 is 30, right? And 3 got wrong.
Yeah.
Or were they not negative marked questions?
I think one of them was not negative marked and the other 2 were negatively marked. So I think I must have did my calculations wrong. I didn't go back to check because I was like, if I get a good percentile, then let's not focus on the negative later. So I think there must have been some calculation error on my part.
Right. So 28 raw score got you 98.98 percentile plus in the quant section, right?
Yeah.
Right. Perfect. So this is my point, right? So the students think that attempting the entire quant section only attempting the entire quant section would guarantee them a good percentile, but that's not correct. Right? You just need to you need to do 10 questions only, and you'll be getting 98 percentile. That's it. That's that. So I don't know, So Sara, let's talk about the VARC section for now. So that you mentioned that you have been very good with reading and all of it. But VARC is a kind of a very new thing, right? It is on a different level, not a new thing. Because in VARC section, the more questions that are asked, it is more logic based than the the typical RC questions, right? So what was your approach? Because I know for a fact that reading is definitely helps in the VARC section, but does only reading will guarantee that you're going to get good score in the VARC section?
I think reading by itself, no, but I think you have to have a habit of trying to understand what the author is trying to say, but that can only come from reading as many difficult texts as you can. So I would say, for instance, reading the newspaper daily, like good newspapers like the Hindu and Indian Express, which have good editorials. When you read those, you understand that when a certain phrase is used and a certain word is used, what is the context, and when certain expressions are used, what they mean. So trying to understand the true nature and the true meaning of what is being said, that is very important, and that you can only learn when you are an avid reader. So I would say that as I have been someone who reads from a very young age, people who don't read, for them I can suggest that they can maintain a diary of words and phrases which are uncommon and which they have not heard before, and use a physical dictionary, and then look up the meaning of those words and expressions, and then write them down, and then visit them over and over again. So if you write something down with your own hand, then that sort of creates a sort of sense memory by itself also, and then you can remember it in the future. And doing that exercise makes you more streamlined and disciplined in terms of understanding the intent of what is being written. And the more and more you read, the newspapers that you read, the books that you read, any book is fine. Any kind of fiction, non-fiction, you just have to develop that habit of reading. So that, because in the exam you have to read like very long passages in a very short period of time, and that can only come when you have that habit of understanding. When you read a lot, then you understand what is important to read and what is not important to read also in a particular paragraph, and you can skip intuitively, and that only comes when you have that habit. So reading by itself is not enough, but reading with understanding and like looking up words and phrases and trying to understand the true intent of what is being written. When something is in a critical manner, we sometimes think it is being appreciative. So that only comes with experience of having read different kinds of things. So that is very important.
Right. So, Sara, of course, this is a very tedious task to do, first of all, but it is important, I agree. But is there any shortcut that a student can, take so that he can be very much fast track with his preparation in the VARC section?
The shortcut would be to do lots and lots of sample papers. I think I personally would not be the best person to suggest, because for me it's like, it was my strength from like childhood, and it helped me with my CLAT exam also, which has like the law exam, the law entrance, which has a significant amount of reading comprehension. So I think the shortcut would be to solve as many papers as you can and develop that habit of understanding from the solution of that particular mock as to why a particular answer that you selected was wrong. When you understand that, then you will understand, okay, so this was what was intended by the author and I misunderstood it. So It is when you do something wrong, it registers in your brain for a very long period of time, and then you don't forget about it. So I think that is the best approach, solving as many questions as you can. And reading the newspaper every day, even for 2 months, is very, very beneficial. And if you can do it for a longer period of time, that is even better.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Sara, let's talk about the LRDI section. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it might have troubled you, because for now, every section is like, okay, ye bhi aata hai, so that's okay.
Quant to khair, I didn't do that well, na? I only solved like 10 questions. That also I kind of struggled with only.
Come on, Sara. you scored 98 and you're saying not well. I scored 93% in quant section. So for me, it is very good. Come on. So
Oh
typical
yeah.
topper kind of thing कि भाई ये अच्छा नहीं हुआ इतना करने के बाद भी.
I'm sorry.
But it's okay. So Sarah, let's
Mm,
talk की LRDA section की.
yeah.
So for a fact that if you were very good in Pons and VRC, so I still think
Mm,
that LRDA is some topic is LRDA is some
mm,
section that actually troubles everyone alike, whether he's a
yeah.
non-engineer or an engineer, right? So
Correct.
how was your approach in the LRDA section, and
Mm.
did it actually trouble you in the CAT exam or not?
It definitely troubled me. I would say quant also troubled me, but you're not willing to accept that answer. But I certainly think LRDI troubled me because every year they ask for different kind of puzzle and you can't predict what the pattern is going to be. And it's very scary because maybe in your slot you can't solve the puzzles, but in other slots the puzzles are more easy. So if you have to essentially solve two of the puzzles and then answer the question, puzzles are like sets of data interpretation. If you can do two of them, then that's perfectly fine. I was able to solve two and then solve the question. But the thing is, practice, practice, practice. That is the only thing I can say. If you do mocks, in mocks they ask more difficult puzzles, and if you're able to solve those more difficult puzzles, then that makes you more confident that okay, whatever is asked in CAT, at least I'll be able to do that.
Hmm.
But you have to develop that problem-solving strategy. You can join. For me, I tried to solve so solutions for all the previous year's papers are available online. So I mostly restricted my preparation to previous year's papers and to the mocks because I just wanted to know how to solve it in real time. Because at the end of the day, everyone will, the toppers are going to solve it, and I have to make myself believe that I am also someone who can solve it.
Hmm.
So that only comes from solving previous year's papers and looking at videos of people who are solving it in front of you, like educators of different coaching solve it. And then you see, okay, this is the strategy that has to be employed. And then you try to do it on your own after that without looking at the video. Then you
Right.
feel the confidence that, okay, this is something I can also do. And then when you take mocks, then you have to do it on your own anyway. And then when you can do that, then you can feel confident. And if then you can't do it, then you look at the solutions and you see, okay, this is the methodology. And even though there is a different kind of puzzle every year, some patterns are repeated. So you can, understand from previous mocks and previous year's papers that you've attempted that, okay, this can be asked. And sometimes that is asked. So it's just a matter of an understanding. So for instance, if a person wants to become a plumber, then he needs to understand how the pipes work, right? And how the taps work. So if you can understand that, as a plumber, if you understand that, then you can go on to someone's house and solve, their plumbing issue.
Hmm.
So it's the same with LRDI also. You have to understand how that particular puzzle, what is the methodology to be followed while solving any puzzle, how to make your brain function in that regard. So that's pretty much what I do.
So,
Correct.
Sarah, let's talk what kind of books did you follow for the CAT exam? Because you just mentioned that you
Mm.
restricted yourself for the LRDA section to mocks and to previous years only. But
Right.
did you follow any book for the LRDA section and for other sections as well?
Actually, I didn't follow any books for any of the sections. I only used online resources because I knew that I wouldn't be able to do justice to any kind of material that I purchased in like book form. So I used online resources, particularly, for instance, I mentioned Rodha Prep for font, and I also used Kraku mocks, which then their educators also solved like previous year's papers. So that is also available for free online, their previous year solutions. But of course, I subscribed to their mock series of like around 5 mocks. So I didn't follow any book per se. I only used free resources available on the internet, and I paid for the mocks. And aside from that, I didn't. For verbal, essentially, I didn't follow any book or anything. I prepared on my own.
All right. So when you mentioned free resources, Sarah, so what kind of
Yeah.
free resources? Like, are there questions available on the internet or just the classes and YouTube channels? That's it.
Yeah, so for Quant, that there was that YouTube channel I mentioned, and aside from that, for most coachings, most coachings published previous year's solution in with an explanation, so that people will probably look at their website and purchase content. So that is available very easily for most to avail previous year's papers. So that I use from various coachings websites, not one in particular actually.
Right. So, Sarah,
Yeah.
to be very honest, this is a very unconventional path to take because you are,
Yeah.
you just didn't take up the books. And did you feel
Yeah.
a fear of missing out the FOMO thing from your peers who are actually using the books, right? So, did
Yeah.
you feel any disadvantage of not using the book?
Actually, I'll be very honest. This attempt of CAT, I was only taking to see how I would do in CAT 2023, because I honestly did not have any expectations for myself, because I did not have time
Yeah.
at all. Like, if you can allow me to mention why I didn't have time, that would be,
Okay,
or would you want to
let's
introduce
mention
that
and we'll have a
later?
discussion. Right, right.
Okay, sure. Okay, so the thing is that I am a UPSC aspirant and I took UPSC 2022, and I qualified to the interview stage just now, and I took my interview in April 2023. So I had just given names in September 22 and gotten free, and I had filled the CAT form because I thought that, what if I don't clear it, then I will need to take the CAT in 2023. So to prepare for CAT 2023, I was essentially taking CAT 2022, and I honestly surprised everyone, including myself, with my performance in 22. So I only had September and October and November, the first 2 or 3 weeks of November, to prepare for it. And I mean, I honestly don't understand how I did well. To be very honest, I did not prepare that much. You can hear from my answers that I only did mocks and I only did, online free resources of what I used. So that is the reason why I honestly didn't feel any FOMO. I felt that, this is my practice attempt. नहीं हुआ तो अगली बार देखेंगे. And then I'll prepare for like 6-7 months properly with a single-minded approach. But this time, since it was not my main attempt, I did not really give it that much of effort. But that is not the case. But I mean, I see a lot of hard workers. Everybody has a different way of preparing. I think if I was lucky, and also probably like I can also take some credit for it, that maybe I've just worked hard in the past, so it was good for me and I was able to do it. But this is not a blanket strategy. 1.5 months is not for most people sufficient to get a good percentile. But that's how it was for me, and I didn't feel any FOMO because the next attempt was my main attempt. So yeah.
Right. So don't you think UPSC, the preparation for the UPSC exam actually helped you in the
Yeah.
CAT exam as well?
Definitely.
Right.
Because for UPSC, I had to read a lot. I had to read a lot of books, a lot of resources. For that, I will not say that I didn't prepare as much. For that, I prepared a lot. So that habit of reading fast, reading in a way that makes me understand things in a very short manner and in a very crisp manner, that helped me for the verbal section for sure. And they also have a qualifying paper of like math,
Right.
English, which is it's much easier compared to CAT, but it did sort of bring me to a greater level of familiarity with maths than I had been during my law time. So
Right.
it did help me to a certain extent, yeah.
राइट सो स्टूडेंट्स ऐसे भी बच्चे होते हैं, ठीक है, देख लो दुनिया कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंचेगी, हम यहीं पे तो भाई मेहनत करो, ठीक है. सो सारा हैड अ वेरी अनकन्वेंशनल वे ऑफ वर्किंग हार्ड, सो दैट डज नॉट मीन दैट शी डिड नॉट वर्क हार्ड फॉर द कैट एग्जाम. But Sarah, let's talk about the coaching institute. So even though you just
Sure.
There was just one or one and a half, you just had 2 months, let's say at max. So didn't you opt for any coaching institute?
No, I didn't opt for any like material or like any classes, because I knew that I didn't have enough time to give to those particular classes, and I essentially relied on test series, one test series which I mentioned, Crackers test series. That's all I took, because I knew that 2 months, 1.5 months would not be sufficient to take full advantage of that coaching. So that was the reason.
So I
Right,
want to know,
yeah.
what was the strategy in analyzing a mock test?
So I didn't think a lot about what percentile I was getting in the mock, and how many marks I was getting. I was just trying to see that was I improving, and was I able to take the learnings of the previous mock and apply it to the next mock. So if the questions and the topics and the concepts I was getting wrong in the previous mock, if I was able to do them better in the next mock, then I felt like I had done a good job. So that was my strategy, and I looked at the answer and the explanation of every single question that I got wrong, because that is the most important thing. When you get something wrong and then you see the explanation and you see why you were wrong, then you never forget it. At least that is the case for me. So that is what I try to do. That whenever I got a question wrong, because most coachings, at least the one that I took, the mock that I took, they had a good explanation for every question. So I looked at the explanation and I made myself understand that this is the approach. And even if I got a question right and I remembered that it took me a lot of time to solve it, then I looked at their solution and see that, this is the shorter way to do it. Because in CAT, it's not just about getting questions right, it's about taking the shortest possible route to the answer. So I think that is what I did in my mock.
So Sarah, let's talk. Let's move towards our final phase of the interview, and that is the personal interview, the PI experiences.
Right.
So you just mentioned that you were drifting from law to finally MBA, and you were not
Yeah.
really aware about aspects of MBA as well.
Hmm.
So I really want to know that this question must have been asked in almost every B school interview that you appeared for.
Yeah.
That is
Hmm.
why MBA, because you're a law student and you
Yeah.
have certain amount of experience in the law field as well. So why are you moving from
Yeah.
law towards MBA?
Correct. So, I was asked this question in pretty much every, I don't think all, but like at least some, because law is a very niche field when it comes to people who are in management. So, very few lawyers, but at least in this batch of Ahmedabad, it's a record of at least 13 to 14 lawyers that we know of at this point. So, it is increasing every year. The number of people who switch from law to management for sure is increasing. But I was asked this. And my answer to this is that while I enjoy law, I don't see myself being a career professional in it, because the kind of work-life balance I want and the kind of essentially the kind of life I want to live does not align itself very well with the profession of law. So I was working in a law firm, and I did not have a lot of work-life balance when it came to at least being the junior most person, and I didn't see it improving in the lives of my seniors as well. And it was affecting me a lot physically and mentally. And I realized that I can't stay in this field, so I have to switch to a field which is equally prestigious or more prestigious than the one I'm in right now. So that is why I decided to take the UPSC civil services examination. And I also thought that maybe if this doesn't work, then I will take the CAT, because MBA and civil services are very prestigious, while at the same time, certain paths within these will allow me to have more work-life balance and to be able to take care and prioritize my mental and physical health, which law perhaps would not. So that was my reason for choosing an MBA.
Finally, talk about the IIM Ahmedabad personal interview experience. So we all know that IIM Ahmedabad conducts an AWT test before the PI.
Right.
So what was your topic for the AWT?
So the AWT test essentially tries to see what your logical skills are and whether you can analyze how good or bad an argument is, and then sort of break it down and deconstruct it. So for us, there was a passage related to whether lying is good or bad, and what the perspective of different kinds of thinkers is related to lying. So we had to identify the crux of each argument and the merits and the demerits of each argument. So that is what we had to write on. We were given one sheet of paper, one A4 size sheet of paper, and that was the maximum that we could write. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Right. So Sara, you have had a far greater experience in reading, right? So
Right.
the way you'll answer an AWT is much different from a regular student, right? So how to answer an AWT in a much more effective way?
For the AWT, I think you have to understand the crux of every argument. That can only be understood when you try to solve more AWTs. Like even I had to solve a lot of AWTs and write down AWTs to understand like what is the approach, because you can find resources related to this online also from people who have like given it in the past. So I think it's essentially about being, reading things from a critical perspective. Like simply reading is different, but reading from the perspective that this is what the author is trying to say, this is what are the good points, and these are the negative points about what they've written. So that you can only do with practice. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have any better answer to give for anything, but the only answer is to, solve as much as you can, because AWTs can be found online. There are many topics that you can find and many passages that you can find. So it's all about reading critically. Like when you read something, don't just accept it. Try to think what you would have given as an argument and whether an argument is strong. So an argument can either be very matter of fact, or it can be supported by evidence, and it can be supported by, more depth and breadth. If that is not the case, then you can point out that the argument is weak because it is not adequately supported by enough evidence and enough points in its favor. And similarly for any kind of counter argument. So you have to be very, very discerning and critical when reading something, even during practice, as to how strong an argument is based on the evidence that is given to support.
So, of course, I think that UPSC's preparation would have been a little bit, coincided with CAT's preparation as well, because they are quite similar in a way, because you have to justify certain things of your profile as well as your past experiences, right? But let's talk what was your PA experience like? How many panelists were there in your IIM Ahmedabad interview? How long was it, and what kind of questions were asked to you?
Okay, so there were two panelists. It was, I think, 25 to 30 minutes interview, and I was the last person to go, so I had a lot of time to use my phone to prepare and revise topics. Ahmedabad was my second interview out of all the interviews that I gave.
Right.
And before that, I'd had Accelerate HR, and according to me, it had gone really badly. So I was very scared. Sorry. And I was reading a lot of different things which I thought might be asked. But I think by the last interview, you stop being that scared about the process, and you're like, whatever they'll ask you, I'll be able to give some answer. So for me, at least, they asked a lot from my grad, that is law. They asked questions related to criminal procedure, related to criminal law and UAPA, and because I'm from a technology law background, they asked me related to the Personal Data Protection Bill. So a lot of related stuff related to law. Then also very random questions. For instance, they asked me which party rules Kerala, who is the chief minister of Tamil Nadu, and so on. So a lot of which party is ruling Tamil Nadu, and so on, and who is the head of that party. So all of these questions, they ask you very random ones also. And they ask you questions related to the city where you're from. So I'm from Faridabad. So they asked me, has Faridabad developed to the extent that you think is necessary? And they also asked me to derive the formula of the sum of an infinite series and of a finite series. So they asked me mathematics questions also. So that is definitely asked to persons from non-engineering backgrounds or arts backgrounds, because they have a doubt as to whether you're good at maths or not. And I think that is something that because after CAT I stopped preparing for the quant side, and that was a setback for me. So I would advise anybody who is not from a quant background, from an engineering background, to stay in touch with quant even after your CAT is over, because they will ask it to you. Especially in Calcutta interview, they will definitely ask you, because Calcutta is a quant heavy school. Ahmedabad also they asked me, but it's very possible that anyone from a non-engineering background is asked questions like that.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Sara, we'll wind up our interview here only,
Sure.
and we'll talk about UPSC and all of that stuff in some time later or in any other video in the future. But for now, thank you so much for doing this, Sara. Thank you so much for agreeing to appear and guide the students in a certain direction they were looking for. And to all the students, we hope you were able to add some value to your preparation. And we wish you all the very best in your in future CAT attempts. And to Sara, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks. It was a great experience. Thanks.
Right. So I think we should wind up our interview. And to all the students, learn from Sara. Keep it simple, and look at the things that other people are doing. Sara is UPSC aspirant, and she was able to manage between both UPSC and CAT. So if she can do it, you who are only preparing for the CAT exam, you will be able to do it one day. And that's it. That's all from us. Thank you so much.